All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig in a Pickle Crew Show, on the way to the gym on a Monday. Yes, I'm wearing my Kyle Shanahan Texas hat that Kev got me when he interned in Austin last summer. No, I'm not a Longhorns fan. I'm more of an A&M fan myself, but it's a long story. Anyway, let's talk a little 49ers. But first, we're brought to you by Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in both spots from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. Pig in a Pickle. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket and tell them that Krug sent you. And also, this video is brought to you by our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. Check the link in the description. Use the promo code KRUG, K-R-U-E-G, and they'll match you up to your first $100. Underdog Fantasy, a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, Coach Yak put out the video today of Malik Mustafa working out, and it's hilarious when these guys work out without their shirt on. You can see exactly how ripped they are, and people are like, man, you know, Malik Mustafa is the 49ers DK Metcalf. And it's like, yeah, this guy is put together. There's no question. I mean, he has the weight of a linebacker, but he's got, you know, and the the body strength of a linebacker, but he's got the footwork and coverage ability of a corner. And that's what's so intriguing about Mustafa. And I can't wait to see. To me, Mustafa might be the most important first-year player that the 49ers added. Why? Because they don't know what they have in Talanoa Hufanga as far as, is Hufanga going to be a back for week one? Or is Hufanga going to be there, you know, in the first month of the year? And if not, who's going to play safety opposite Jair Brown? And, you know, I would say Jair Brown's probably going to play free safety, and Hufanga was going to play strong safety. So now with Hufanga out, you know, can Mustafa slide right in and play strong safety? And I think he can. That's, you know, and if it's not him, then they may have to start talking about Justin Simmons or looking around. There's talk that Atlanta has gotten tired of Richie Grant. There's talk that Minnesota, you know, in Minnesota, that the former Georgia Bulldog, Lewis Seen, is down their depth chart, and he may be a cap casualty, or a cut, I should say, at the cut down on August 27th when teams pair from 90 to 53. Seen may get dumped by the Vikings, and Richie Grant may get dumped by the Falcons. And both those guys would be of interest in a trade, I think, to a team like the 49ers. And, of course, there's Justin Simmons, and all he's going to cost you is money. He's a free agent. You could add him. But I think the 49ers may hold off altogether if Malik Mustafa is the player that a lot of us think he is. Now, I was a huge fan of Malik Mustafa going into this year's draft process well before the Niners ever took him, just because of his complete dominance as a player. I mean, he's a hitter. So if you're an old school football fan like me, I love the safeties that are thumpers. Give me David Fulcher. Give me Ronnie Lott. Give me John Lynch. Give me Steve Atwater. Give me Joey Browner. Give me those guys, Dawkins. Give me those guys who can hit at safety. I like the hitters more than the Ed Reed, addition of the safeties who are dominant cover guys. But the game has become more of a coverage game. So you have to be able to cover, and now you have to be able to hit and cover. And, you know, maybe not in that order. I mean, coverage is so important now that, you know, like I've heard people suggest maybe Renardo Green could win the 49ers free safety job. And he's 185 pounds. And, you know, he's played the corner in the ACC, and now he's going to step in and play free safety in the NFL. It seems like a tall ask, but right now there's such a priority on guys who can play coverage that maybe Renardo Green could be an option. Mustafa, though, is the first guy in line. And all you got to, you know, is he a guy who, you know, he played that bandit position at Wake. So he was all over the place. He played on all three levels of the defense at different times. And they utilized him in matchups very, you know, week to week. So what is he going to play with the 49ers? I think he's best as a box safety up on the line of scrimmage. But that's also Hufanga's best role. So maybe he splits time with Hufanga when Hufanga gets back. But I think they're both strong safety types. Now, Jair Brown had great interception production at Penn State. And so there's thoughts that he could potentially play as the free safety in the deep middle in a cover 3 in a zone, or, covering the deep parts of the field man-to-man. I'm not sure what Jair is. He looks bulked up from last year. To me, he's got great ball skills, and he's always going to be a high percentage interceptor. He comes away with the ball in the air. He's got great hand-eye coordination. But to me, I saw a player that was a little bit more like the safety they just got out of there. I mean, I think he reminds me an awful lot of last year's safety from the standpoint of he's not a great cover guy. I'm talking about Tayshaun Gibson. He's not a great cover guy, but he's got a great nose for the football. So Gibson intercepted passes, but he's not a great cover guy. And I think Brown, in a lot of ways, is the same type player down the field. I think he's good in the box against the run. He's physical. He'll attack with ferocity and full speed. So I like him attacking the run downhill. And I like him with the ball in the air as a high percentage interceptor. But as far as man-to-man coverage skills in pass coverage, I think you can do better. And I think long-term, maybe Jair's best at strong safety. So the Niners have 3 safeties, and they could go to 3 safety looks, and they may at some point. But they're very similar in their skill set, I think, and in my mind, they're all 3 would be better with an Earl Thomas type free safety. If you could pair a free safety who could really cover next to, Jair Brown or Hufanga or Malik Mustafa, I think that's what you're looking for. But looking at Mustafa working out and just seeing how ripped he is, you can see that, even though he looks boxy, he's got a very lean waist. So he's got the ability to turn and run and play coverage better than you think. And you saw it on film. If you watch the Wake film, you can see he's a good coverage player. He really is. He's solid in coverage. He doesn't take a lot of bad steps. For a guy who's as rocked up as he is and as broad a shoulders as he has, he's definitely plays like a smaller man in coverage, and that's a good thing. So to me, there's a couple, every team, there's no perfect team, right? You could go back to the 94 Niners. You could go back to the mid-70s Steelers. You could go back to the early 90s Cowboys. If you talk to Chuck Noll, if you talk to Walsh or Seifert, if you talk to Jimmy Johnson or whoever it is, they all had a complaint about their roster. They all felt like they had a weakness to the roster. And so every roster has a weakness. The 49ers, I do believe, have one of the better personnel rosters in all of the NFL. I mean, if they're not the best, they're right there with Baltimore. They're right there with Cincinnati, with Kansas City, with Philadelphia, with Detroit, and Green Bay as like the most talented rosters in football. I think the Niners might even be a little bit more talented than most of the teams I just named. So, that's the thing about this is that, when you look at the 49ers, they're not, even though they have great talent, they're not without weakness. They're not that deep at tight end. If George Kittle goes down, they're in a world of hurt. There's no question about that. And there are some thin spots on the football team. They're a little thin at defensive end. They're kind of leaning on Drake Jackson and Robert Beal Jr. to bust out. And if they don't, they may be a little thin at defensive end. So they have their weaknesses. And one of the weaknesses is with Hufanga out, and Greenlaw out, their replacements become kind of under the gun. And for Greenlaw, that replacement's most likely going to be Devondre Campbell, but you also have D. Winters, and you also have Jalen Graham, and so you have some options there. At safety, if you look at the depth chart, I mean, you've got Jair Brown and Hufanga, and then after that, it goes into Malik Mustafa, who we've all got great belief in, and then it's George Odom, who's a terrific special team player, but I think he's more of a special teamer than a player from scrimmage. Then you have, Eric Harris and Taylor Hawkins and Jalen Mahoney, and they're more practice squad, back of the roster types. Mahoney, we have to take a look at in camp. I think he actually have got some high hopes for Mahoney, the Vanderbilt kid. I think he's got some athleticism, some smarts. He might be able to, show something in this camp this summer. But those are, not guys that you should be depending on as starting caliber players. I like Taylor Hawkins too. He was a good corner at San Diego State. I think he's ready to play his best football coming into this year. And I like him. It's not like I don't like him. I think he's a pretty good player. I think he can cover better than most safeties, and I think he's going to have a nice career. But as the starter, Eric Harris's story is awesome. Eric Harris is one of my favorite guys on this team. His story is amazing. He was working at a potato chip factory, and then he earned himself a multi-million-dollar NFL contract, and he came through the CFL, and he went to a Hamilton Ticats tryout. I mean, he's an incredible story. I love that kid, but he's not a starter either. So you got him, and he's a good special teamer, and you got Mahoney, who's an undrafted free agent. They're just a little thin at safety, and so it puts a lot of pressure on Mustafa because he's really their only option to start if Afanga's not ready to roll, and Afanga tore his ACL. So the odds that he'll be ready to roll in week 1, who knows? He might be ready to roll, he might not. All right, watch some film here. Watch the film. This is from I pulled it off the Coach Yak. At least Coach Yak got me onto it. But here's a little bit of Malik Mustafa running around, and we'll share some thoughts in a second.
Ready, go. Now. Come on. Like that. Good. Ready. Good. Next two guys out. Next two guys out. Next two guys out. Cut him. Flip. Stop. Work. Good. Good. Go. Back. Flip. Ball. Good. Ready.
All right, there you go. Malik Mustafa running around, working out, looking ripped, looking quick, looking explosive. He's got a great opportunity here. There's incredible. I mean, not everybody has this level of an opportunity. He's got an opportunity that if he comes in and plays well and adapts quickly to the defense, that he could be the week 1 starter against the Jets in the 49ers secondary. They are the defending NFC champions, and Malik Mustafa could wind up being, a starting player in their secondary in week 1. So I really love the player. I was super fired up when they got him. I really badly wanted him before the draft because it was it was not a good safety draft. It really was not. It was very, very thin safety draft. There was probably only 5 or 6 safeties that I thought, oh man, these guys are the guys you want. And Mustafa, I targeted him going into this year. He moves really well in a sport where you got to play coverage. And so he's got coverage ability, but he also can strike like a linebacker with force and hit and be an impact guy and separate receivers from the football. So, and he's smart, and he's hardworking, and he's super motivated. To me, this is like, the Niners this year didn't tell us who their gold star designation helmet guys were, but I would almost bet anything that Malik Mustafa was a gold helmet guy for the Niners this year. Why? Because he checks every box. Is he smart? Yes. Is he aggressive? Yes. Does he hit like a truck? Yes. Can he cover? Yes. Does he, is he scheme versatile? Yes. Can he break down in space against an athlete like he's going to have to do in the NFL and bring a guy to the ground and make that solo tackle? Yes, he checks all these boxes. So this is more than anybody the guy to watch on the 49er defense coming into this year. I think what we're going to see, It's going to be Yatir Gross-Matos and Bosa on first and second down. You're going to see Floyd on third down for Gross-Matos. Inside, it's going to be Malik Collins and Hargrave, and they'll run a rotation of guys inside as well. It's going to be Warner and Campbell, most likely, but possibly, Winters. I think Graham's got a shot, but at least to start, I think it's going to be Campbell and Warner inside. Corner-wise, it's going to be Mooney and Diamador Lenore, and that's the other question. Who's going to be that third corner? Is it going to be Luter? Is it going to be Womack? Is it going to be Yadam? There's a lot of options. But the big question is, Hufanga tore the ACL, and he's likely not to be ready for week 1. And if he's not ready week 1, who is the Niners starting free safety? And to me, it has to be Malik Mustafa. That's the guy. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Look for him. If you're going to camp, watch for Malik Mustafa. In a lot of ways, this guy, to me, should have been a first-round draft choice. And instead, they got a great bargain on him. Very, very productive player, very athletic player, very smart player. And I can't wait to see him this summer in camp. So, to me, he's one of the key guys, if not the key guy on the 49er defense. And he's the overwhelming favorite to start at free safety if Hufanga can't go. And I think Mustafa can do the job. All right, thanks for watching the video. Thanks to Pig in a Pickle. Thanks to all of you. Thanks for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.